Redline Logbook here for the Noah's Ark Part 1. And this arc starts off where the last one left off, with Lena Lee being sucked into the magic circle. And as you can imagine, Alan isn't just going to let that happen. He grabs her, but he also gets sucked in. And as a response, Robbie, Crowley, Kanda, and Shoji all grab Alan, but they get sucked in as well. Then the sky shatters like a bunch of puzzle pieces, revealing a Rubik's Cube-looking object. Bookman then starts to speak in a language that no one understands, and declares that that is the Noah's Ark. As for Alan and everyone, they're fine, including Lena Lee. They all just land inside of the Ark. And of course recognizes that he was in this place before and says there's a way out. All they have to do is find the door to the right building and they'll end up back in the Eastern Branch. And then Kana says, well, why didn't you just say that earlier? And the two just start fighting. But that's when Rororu, the umbrella that belongs to the Millennium Earl, apparently he's the one who sucked in Lena Lee, starts basically bragging that there's no exit. That's when Kanda and Alan start to threaten to kill Ruru if they doesn't tell them what's going on. And as a response, a balloon of the Millennium Earl comes out of Ruru and informs them all he trapped them inside the Ark, and he's currently downloading this Ark into the new one. And in 3 hours, they will all fall into a void and die. And he's not lying. Pieces of the inside of the Ark start to crumble and fall apart as buildings literally fall into a void of darkness. The Earl says that his target was Lena Lee, obviously, because he thinks she might be the heart. But getting all of them sounds great to him. He doesn't care. They're all trapped. They're all going to die. He's good. And he just floats away, the balloon Earl. Back with General Theodore's group, in the horizon they see an army of giant Akuma marching towards them. So obviously they gotta get ready for that fight. And as they're getting ready, one of Theodore's innocents start reacting, and he goes, oh, go to your master, and it just flies out of his pocket and shoots off into somewhere. So they're getting ready for a fight with these giant Akuma, and then we go back to the group inside the Ark. They're all freaking out because no matter how many doors they open up, there is no exit, and also the whole place continues to fall apart around them, and they just gotta keep running higher and higher up. And that is when a key just appears next to Alan's face, and holding that key is Tiki Meek in his human form. Well, his white form, not his gray. Alan, Robbie, and Crowley, of course, recognize this guy. They start freaking out, wondering why he's there. And of course, Tiki Meat says, you know, Alan, I'm pissed at you personally because you survived. I got in trouble. And he just headbutts Alan. And Alan's like, what are you talking about? I don't even know who you are. And then that's when he reveals that he slowly turns gray and becomes the Noah. Tiki starts juggling the key, saying there really is no way out of the Ark, except through Rhodes' door. Rhodes is the only member of the Noah who can pass through space and time. And this key will let you do that. So all you have to do is just keep beating us and keep going through all of our doors, and then you'll make it out. And Alan's like, you guys are immortal. This is not fair. And then a building falls on Tiki Meek, and of course he just phases through it, as he always does. And he goes, no, we're still human. We can still die. We're just superior to all of you, so it seems like we're immortal. He then tosses the key to Kanda, steps through his own personal door created by Rode, and it just leaves them behind. Then the ground that they're on begins to fall apart again. Lena Lee falls because she doesn't have her legs to use at the moment. Alan grabs her, and they're all like, we don't really have a choice. Even if this is clearly a trap, and even if he's lying, we don't have any options. And so they decide they're going to have to go through Rhodes' door. And for some reason, Riro is still with them. It's kind of weird that he just gets abandoned by not just the Earl, but also Tiki Meek now. So he's stuck with the Exorcists, who are his enemy, so it's kind of weird. So they stick the key into one of the doors. It turns into this weird childlike door with all kinds of paintings on it, like a butterfly and such. The group put their hands together and say, we're going to get out of this together. Except for Kanda, who says, screw you all. And they all go through the door. On the other side of the door, I can only describe this place as Western-inspired, with large mountains, lots of desert, and a sky that for some reason is painted completely black, with moons all over it and a rainbow with sparkles. Kind of like how a child would see the Wild West. And in there, waiting for them, is a member of the Noah, Bullock, that guy that likes sweet things. Kanda then orders the rest of them to go on ahead, and he'll deal with this guy. Lena is like, wait, no, we should do this together. We're leaving together. And Kanda's like, no, this guy's been after my general. Killing him is part of my mission. You all can go. That's when the whole place starts to shake again, and they realize, okay, we're still in the Ark. Even this place is the Ark, and so we gotta go. So Alan's like, okay, everyone else go. Me and Kanda will handle this. And then Kanda straight up points a sword at Alan and says, I am going to fight him myself. I'm going to kill him myself. You all leave. And then he attacks everyone. And as you can imagine, even Roro was surprised that Kanda would go that far. And so everyone just starts insulting Kanda for attacking them. He says, I don't care, go away. They agree, they decide they're just going to leave him. That's when Lena Lee stops, says, you better come back to us. Kanda ignores her until she starts yelling at him. And then he says, okay, fine, I promise, I'll come back. I always find it interesting that Lena Lee's the only person who can mess with Kanda. That's when Boris transforms into something. Looks like a disfigured Hulk, basically. And he shoots lightning at Kanda. Kanda activates his Mugen, and their fight begins. Everyone else goes to the only other building, so it must be the exit. On the door, it says no on it. They enter the door, and they just disappear, leaving Kanda and Brock. Kanda then asks, wait, so you could fight this whole time? So every time I saw you in the streets with the Akuma, you did nothing. Why? And Brock's response is, well, there were 3 of you guarding the general, and I couldn't decide on which one I should kill first. And this makes Byok sound kind of stupid, but the fact is, throughout this fight, you see just how eloquent he speaks and how intelligent Byok actually is. He was really just so hyped up on the idea of fighting one-on-one with each of them that he couldn't decide on which one he wanted to kill first. So Kanda's like, okay, have you decided who you're going to fight first? And he goes, well, since you're the only one left at the moment, I'm going to kill you. And he introduced himself as Skin Barak of the Noah. Barak then asks what Kanda's name is. He gives it, and then he asks him, do you like sweet things? And Kanda's only response is, I hate them. We go to Road and Tiki Meek, who are currently just sitting in a room together talking. Tiki Meek's like, you know, we didn't get permission to Earl to do this. Do you think he's going to be mad at us? And Road's like, he's probably not mad. He's just concerned about us. We are the lambs that are meant to be offered to God, which has multiple indications about that. And then Road says, but he knows the nature of the Noah. And that's when both Tiki Meek and her have very evil looks on their faces. In fact, Road's eyes basically turn completely white. Back with Kanda's fight, Boris blasts lightning everywhere and then immediately teleports behind Kanda. He's about to attack him, but Kanda's able to counter, slashes in the back, and throws him away. Bork then says, you're faster than me. That's surprising. And Kanda's like, that didn't even put a scratch on him. What the hell is he made of? But then earthquakes start to happen, and more of the area starts to crumble apart. And Kanda's realized, you know what? It doesn't matter how tough he is. What is important is killing him fast enough so I can escape. He then orders Mugen to start eating up his life force in exchange for more power. And Kanda's giving up a significant amount of his life force because even the aura coming off of him is actually now ripping apart Bork, which before his sword couldn't cut him, but the air pressure now can. Kanda is going all out now. Kanda then just says, you know what, let's get this over with. I need to leave. And Bork is like, have you not noticed your hand shaking? Yeah, when you slashed me, you absorbed some of my electricity. There's millions of volts going through my body. Every time you attack me, you damage your own hand. Bringing forth the wrath of God will get you burned to death. And Kanda's like, I will live. Bork then attacks head on, but Kanda once again just dashes away. He realizes that Kanda's way too fast for him, and so he decides to just do an AoE attack and just lightning the entire area. Kanda isn't just able to dodge this AoE attack, he's also able to counter, and he cuts Bork a couple times, cuts open his chest from his shoulder, and severs his right arm. Bork is completely confused on what just happened because he didn't even see Kanda's attack, but then he starts laughing because Kanda's hand then basically explodes in lightning and it's just charred flesh and bone. Yeah, what he said earlier, every time Kanda attacked him, he was going to get burned. Now, Kanda's body is weird. It has this insane level of regeneration, but right now it's not working because he's giving his life force to Mugen so he can actually cut Bork. As a result of this, all the damage he's taking, he's just going to have to deal with. Bork's entire body then starts to glow with electricity, and he declares that he's fully charged. And out of nowhere, these chains of electricity rip out of Kanda and go all the way to Bork's severed arm. He's then able to pull in Kanda with the chains and then just bats him away into a boulder. After smashing him to the boulder, he then lifts him up with the chains and electrocutes him. And explains to Kanda that every time that his power went into his hand whenever he got cut, it wasn't just electrocuting Kanda, it was connecting his energy to Kanda. So this way they are now linked. Kanda then tries to cut the chains, but the Noah declares that they cannot be cut, then just whips him into what I can only describe as a plateau. He then tells Kanda it's pointless. He may be faster, but now that he has a grip on him, there's nothing he can do because Brock is stronger. Any hope he had of victory is now gone and he's going to die. And then Kanda just glares at him. And then Noah then begins to realize that Kanda isn't really afraid of death. And that's actually disturbing. Yes, a Noah, a being that's near immortal, is disturbed by the fact that Kanda does not fear death. And the funny thing is, the only thought going through Kanda's mind is, the ground is still falling. I need to get to the exit soon. So Kanda still considers the arc falling apart more of a concern than the opponent he's fighting. As the surroundings crumble more and more, the entrance in which Kanda and the rest of them came through falls into the abyss, leaving only the exit where everyone else left to. And that's when Bok says, the entrance is gone. All that's left is the exit. And only one of us is going through that alive. Kanda was about to charge forward, but Bok activates the electricity through the chain, electrifying Kanda, then slams him once again into a giant boulder. And after doing that, he decides to doesn't choke him out. At this moment, you see Kanda's tattoo begin to grow and take over his body. And Bok says, okay, if I can't kill you by smashing you and electrocuting you, I guess I'll just blow your head off. And he starts to increase electricity in his hand while holding his neck to blow his head clean off. And next thing Barak realizes, he's got a giant sword going through him, because this is the very moment Kanda's been waiting for. He's been waiting for Barak to get into range of him so this way he can slice him up. So at this very moment, the two go for a finishing move. Kanda slices Barak in half, and Barak blasts Kanda's head with all the electricity he has. Kanda's charred body falls to the ground while Barak falls to his knees, and he realizes he made a mistake, because Kanda's sword actually begins to melt and shatter because of all the electricity going through it. But that sword is made of innocence. So even though Kanda's sword began to shatter and break apart, each of those fragments is still innocence, and they start to embed themselves inside of Barak's body, and they begin to poison him from the inside, slowly killing him. Kanda then stands and says, whoever said the Noah immortal is a fool. As long as you're a person, you can die. And it just leaves Barak's body to rot. As Barak's consciousness begins to fade, he begins to hear a voice screaming in his head, never forgive the innocents, never forgive the innocents, never forgive the innocents. And we're sent back in time to one of his memories. Apparently, Barak, before he became a Noah 3 years ago, was just an ordinary man who was a dock worker in New Orleans. One day, his head started bleeding, and so he went to a priest and told him about it. The priest was like, well, you shouldn't come to me, you should go to a doctor. And so Barak then shows his wounds to the priest, and they're all in the shape of a cross. And so the priest goes, it's the holy mark. Barak then lived in the church from there on out, suffering from horrific nightmares of the end of the world, constantly seeing what happened 7,000 years ago when the Great Flood happened. And all Barak could do was just beg for it to stop, plead for these dreams to go away. And eventually this drove him insane, where he started chewing on his own fingernails, repeating the same thing over and over again. Never forgive the innocents, never forgive the innocents, never forgive the innocents. And when he was at his lowest point, that is when Rode and the Earl show up. They inform him that what he's experiencing is the awakening of his Noah genes that have been passed down for thousands of years. And they're finally awoken, and he can now finally see the true form of this world. After that, Barak's skin then turns gray, he stops going insane, and the next scene we have is him in the bathroom cleaning up. He turns to the priest, and he then orders him to take care of anyone who knew him before he turned into a Noah. And of course, the priest has a black pentagram on its head, white eyes, so it's an Akuma. And it says, yes, sir, and it goes off and just kills everyone that was a part of Barak's life before he became a Noah, leaving Barak continuously staring into the bathroom mirror, looking at a silhouette of some kind of human, but they only have a mouth. And this thing repeats to Barak over and over again, do not forgive him, do not forgive him, do not forgive him, do not forgive him. Back to the present, Kanda is almost to the exit when he falls to his knees. He grabs his tattoo because he's about to lose consciousness because he used too much of his life force this time. Unfortunately for him, it's not over. At that very moment, a giant lightning bolt comes out of Barak, and he basically starts standing up screaming. Kanda's right there near the exit, but there's no way he's going to make it in time in his state. And that exit's about to get blown away because Barak just blasts off a massive lightning attack at Kanda. And so Kanda has no choice but to engage. Kanda, forced to block this attack, takes it with everything he has, but this was the strongest attack he's experienced so far. And he realized there's some insane power coming from within him. And when he looks at Barak, he sees that white shadowy thing with only a smile wrapping itself around Barak as he screams, I will not forgive the innocents. Kanda's blades then shatter, and he's skewered from the ground with this lightning thing that Barak summoned. Barak then starts laughing that he was victorious, that he beat Kanda. But then a light comes out of the handle of Kanda's sword that he's holding onto still, and this light tracks all of the shattered pieces of Kanda's katana. And with just sheer will and with the power of the innocents, Kanda is able to reforce his katana out of the fragments of his sword, and he cuts Barak in half. A straight vertical slash. And as Barak begins to split in half, he says, I already told you, we know are immortal. And then he turns to dust and dies. Kanda then smiles and comments that the others are going to be upset that he doesn't come back. as the rest of the area that they were standing in crumbles away and falls into the abyss. And the last thing we see is Miranda saying that one of the times that she was holding on to just disappeared. Alright, I'm going to end it right there. If you enjoy this video, subscribe, give it a thumbs up so you enjoy more D. Gray Man and other many things. Thank you and have a great day.